much pretext to this or context to this, but this is part of the series of the number series and the most recent video in the series, and I just want to keep the train of thought going without too much pretext or context. But I don't mean to just arbitrarily start talking like this. It is part of a series. But what I was saying is that and also the way that I'm talking about like this, I'm saying that one of the most profound books on mathematics is Introduction to Pre-Algebra by Mark Zarelli for Dummies. Introduction to Pre-Algebra for Dummies by Mark Zarelli is a profound book, and he's also enlightening and has humor in there. And so my standpoint for the statements I'm making, if anyone had a wonder, in terms of mathematics, is actually what can be extrapolated simply by reading the book Pre-Algebra for Dummies by Mark Zarelli. I think that was like a 2014 or 15 iteration of that. And then rudimentary chemistry recently when I was taking basic chemistry as part of a biology course. And then also the works of Arthur Avalon more so. And Arthur Avalon talks a lot about, he goes back and forth between what's considered as spirit having to do with breath. The scholar Tashriq Bey has pointed out that when you're spirit, in the deepest sense, the most thoroughgoing scholarship of different faith systems and spirituality, generally speaking, when you're referring to spirit, you're referring to breath. And that's also confirmed in the works of Arthur Avalon, and pointing out the sublime dimensions of breath in what's called yoga. And yoga is the consonance and the dissonance and the consonance that amounts to the consonance, and how we can, the assonance and the dissonance and the consonance that amounts to our assonance, and be able to exist with our ASS's in this reality. You need balance at all times to exist. We can't exist with balance. As I'm talking, there are sophisticated balances and overlaps between the pressure outside of the body and inside of the body, to name less than a few of what harmonies and balances and sophisticated balances allow me to exist in real time and feel comfortable enough to express myself coherently. Also, being somewhat conscious and unconscious at all times, that amounts to a different degree of dreaming at all times, as life actually is a dream. That's also necessary, and that can be things such as breathing and being conscious and unconscious can be affected by imbibing substances or partaking of substances to our benefit and to our detriment and to our indifference. And I don't know so much indifference, but at least to our detriment and benefit. Most settings, the most substances and influences can be appreciated as a poison on some degree, even fruits and vegetables and roughage that we need to survive, according to Nicholas Taleb. So, but yet it is important to respect substances as though they had been a form of poison, and so they're not to overindulge in what's healthy, and not to abuse what would be either appreciated as medicine or ceremonial or something. Is that it's real all the time, and it's just, does it work to our favor and our enjoyment or not? And that's very sophisticated and subtle. According to Nicholas Taleb, it would take more of an artist to have a command of the healing, because they were appreciated originally as healing arts rather than sciences, according to Nicholas Taleb. And actually, when you get into science, you get more arbitrary, because science is heavily preoccupied with numbers. Such is the gray area in medicine, the margin of error, the assumption, the estimation. There it's presented as an exact science, which that may be another oxymoron. I could almost do a series on oxymorons in our common vernacular in Western language. And exact science would be one. Is that there is no exact science, specifically because, at least because what we appreciate as numbers are arbitrary, in that they can be appreciated as anything. A lot of art is symmetry, yet people would both create and appreciate art differently, fundamentally, not less or greater. And that's an example that art, the greatest symmetry, that is, maybe you could say art and mathematics are not different. So maybe a true scientist and a true artist would not be entirely different. I've went to a medical sciences school, and some of the cadre and staff and colleagues there have pointed out, I'm not saying I'm a colleague, but the colleagues there has stated that it's interesting how many artists come through a medical place. But according to Nicholas Taleb, that might not be actually outside of reason, because one is that symmetry is about art and symmetry is about mathematics, yet at least an artist can appreciate that art is subjective and objective, and the combination of that is what makes things beautiful. Kind of like I pointed out, according to Arthur Avalon, that reality is both heterogeneous and homogeneous, that is distinct, respective, and similar, collective, and it's that dynamic that's so beauty. You see something that makes you cry, right? Like you find out about like something that was supposed to happen to you or didn't happen for you, yet someone who loves you was present where you were supposed to be or didn't make it up to be because they cared that much about you and they thought that much about you, and that makes reality stand still for a moment, and you would start to cry at that point if that had been real enough. When I moved away from where I lived in the Southwest as a young boy, one of my best friends came. That was like the summer of love and basketball, and there were a lot of beautiful young girls and some of us young boys. The boys more so be interested in basketball, and the girls in dancing, and they would like dance around like when we were playing basketball. But there was a lot of like crushes and attraction and stuff like that for young people, and like this one like that one, and that one like this one, but that one also like that one a little bit more. It was like just a bunch of us, motley crew of boys and girls. But my friend was we were all just about as cool. That's actually the kind of cool thing, is that we were all kind of just about as cool as each other somehow growing up. A lot of times like one friend is just way more cool or appreciated that way. But as boys, like a lot of us, there's at least, let's see, there's about like 5 or 6 of us boys and about like maybe 4 or 5 girls. And we're all just about as cool as each other, as attractive as each other in each other's eyes. And that was kind of cool. But my best friend from about first grade, he came up to the U-Haul where he was loaded up, and I had like all my stuff in my Walkman. One of the girls had burnt her dad's Genuine CD, and I listened to that all the way across the country. But and I was doing beats on this little lunchbox that must have drove my uncle crazy, but also kept him awake to drive from the Southwest to the North in one go. But my friend came out to the van, and like me and him were actually crying because like that's how much we could feel. You could feel the moment, but me and him could actually feel that. And sometimes boys are much more deeply feeling than they would normally have credit for. I've experienced that as a school bus driver. There's a little boy that I cared for recently at my roles, and it was just like him and another young person that I would take in a van. And he was from an area that I had also served as another bus driver, and he was telling me about hearing gunshots in the middle of the night. Like, pop! I actually haven't heard. I've been blessed not to hear the type of stuff he heard in the middle of the night, but you can't imitate a gunshot like that without having been around, at least heard something very real coming through your windows or your walls, the way that he could pronounce what those gunshots sounded like, being a very young boy. So he was from the trenches as a young boy. But I remember one time recently, I was about to, we're not supposed to be like contacting children, obviously, as adults, but I was giving him like a fist bump, and he was like, I would prefer a hug actually. And and so I was trying to be as chaste and discreet about giving him a hug. Not supposed to be hugging children, obviously. But the realer thing was that this boy coming from hearing gunshots in the middle of the night was like, oh, man, I'm not trying to give you a fist bump, man. Give me a hug, man. That's some real stuff right there. And that's just to show you that boys got a lot of heart, as much heart. Boys have a lot of feeling and heart. And so me and my friend were like that. And my friend was like, he was crying as I was leaving. And then as the apartment complex had like this track around it, like this road around it, so you had to go like in a big U to get out of there. And as we went out, like the girls were kind of sad too. Like I think 1 or 2 of them had a crush on me, so they were very silent, like somewhat regretting that I was moving away. And then I had another friend that I pointed out in this video was all about like guns and stuff growing up, like toy guns and real guns too at his other family. He was just like it's all good, man. I'll catch you on the flip side, man. But my other friend was like, that meant something to him that I was leaving. And then when we went around the track to leave, he ran next to the U-Haul, and he was crying the whole time I was leaving. For like, it's about an eighth or a quarter of a mile how far we went, and he was just running like he was running like more that like he was more about it than a soldier, but he was also like breaking apart. That's how much of a bond we had just as boys. And then I made another video about how I got out there to his to where his mom lived at about like in my mid to late 20s, and I saw his room, and he was still in her life, but had moved out